Super Mario Odyssey is without a doubt one of my favorite games of all time. The problem is, I've played it for so long, the game is starting to get really easy. That's when I came up with a great solution to this problem. After every kingdom, I spin a wheel. This wheel has a bunch of challenges and restrictions that I have to play with. That's about all you need to know, so without further ado, let's get into this video. Going into this challenge, I had almost no scope for difficulty, as I had never done a challenge like this before, and I hadn't done many challenge runs of Super Mario Odyssey in general. One thing that I did assume was that the first and second kingdoms would be really easy, as the first one has no restrictions, and the second kingdom, Cascade Kingdom, would only have one. I made my way to the boss arena, and then made quick work of Topper, and then I took my first spin at the wheel. Alright, spin number 1. Let's hope for something easy. I don't want to get coinless early in the run, so let's hope it's not that. Not terrible. Also, I should make it clear, if I fail one of these challenges, I don't restart the whole run, I just go back to the start of the kingdom. That way this run isn't impossible, and it makes sure the run isn't miserable for me to play. After spending way too much time trying to get Dino Skip, eventually I got Dino Skip, then I easily took care of the boss, and I only had to get one more moon to complete the kingdom. And in case you missed it, I bonked, meaning I have to reset the kingdom. Luckily, my first reset is on one of the shortest kingdoms, so I was able to quickly make my way back to the moon and finish the kingdom. Before going to Sand Kingdom, I have to spin the wheel again to see what my punishment is for this kingdom. As you can see, the challenge that I got is blur screen. For challenges like this that affect the way the game looks, I'm gonna have my view of the game in the corner, so that you guys can still enjoy the normal game. Going into this, I had absolutely no clue how hard this was going to be, as I have obviously never played Mario Odyssey with a blurred screen before. As I cautiously made my way to the first moon, I realized what the biggest challenge with this would be. When playing with a blurred screen, it's really hard to gauge depth, which wouldn't be so much of a problem if it weren't for the fact that if I bonk, I have to reset. Because of that, I play much more cautiously, which is why it took me so many attempts to climb on this ice pillar and reach the top. I actually made progress through the kingdom quite quickly, only struggling with the bullet bill segment. For the last moon, I decided to get the bird moon, and it is a miracle I did it first try. And just like that, I had completed the kingdom. Now I just had to get back to the Odyssey, which is easier said than done. Eventually, I did reach the Odyssey, and it was time to go to probably my favorite kingdom, Wooded Kingdom. Before that though, I have to spin the wheel. The wheel narrowly misses zoom in, and now if I die, I have to reset the kingdom. I grabbed 2 fairly accessible moons before buying my third and then making my way deeper into the kingdom. Despite the blur, I was able to breeze through the kingdom, collecting all the moons I needed, and I was able to make my way up to the boss fight. I made quick work of the boss before I spun the wheel, zoomed in my game, and headed out to Lake Kingdom. Lake Kingdom is super short, and the only hard part of the kingdom was the boss fight, which I was able to do in one attempt. I once again spun the wheel and turned my game black and white. To be completely honest, having a black and white screen is probably the hardest in Cloud Kingdom. The fight with Bowser wasn't as hard as I expected, but it was still definitely challenging, and I'm still surprised that I did it in one attempt. After the bad luck in Cloud Kingdom, my luck started to turn around, as I got remove punishment, which is very helpful, and I use this to remove the blur from my screen. If I die, I have to reset the kingdom, but because I haven't done anything in this kingdom yet, I decided to risk it and go for this hard-ish strategy, which I failed multiple times. Lost Kingdom is definitely one of my favorite kingdoms, as it's super short and you can complete it really quickly. I ended up getting all the moons I needed in under 5 minutes. After spinning the wheel for Metro Kingdom, I find out that I can't take damage for any of the rest of the kingdoms, and this is where difficulty definitely starts to ramp up. I had to be extremely cautious making my way through the New Donk City Hall, because there were so many ways I could take damage. I even had an extremely close call when I got the Power Moon. Thankfully, I made it safely through the boss fight, and it was time to get the rest of the moons in the kingdom, which is pretty easy to do without taking damage. I got this moon with the use of my unparalleled gaming skills, before extorting a lonely man for another moon. Right here is an example of me not knowing as much about this game as I thought I did. I got the moon here on my first attempt, but for some reason I thought there was another moon that you could get, and I spent like 35 minutes trying to get that moon before realizing that the moon I'm thinking of doesn't exist. After that debacle, I talked to Captain Toad to get a moon, and then just gathered a bunch of random ones around the city. I collected the last moon I needed, and before I headed out to Snow Kingdom, I spun the wheel, and got a not so good punishment. Black and white, damageless, upside down, can't bonk. This is like impossible. This kingdom was definitely not easy. The whole time I was kind of turning my neck so that it was really at a 90-degree angle, but it was still super difficult. Despite this, I did this pretty hard trick, and I got the luckiest landing ever. I was making good progress through the kingdom, and I was kind of on a roll, until this happened. As you can see, I took damage, which means I have to restart the kingdom and reset the second time this run. I made my way back though, and got the moon, this time without taking damage. After the most stressed I've been playing Super Mario Odyssey, I beat the boss upside down without taking damage. After getting the last moon I needed, it was time to leave Snow Kingdom and spin the wheel. Unlike last time, this time I got exactly what I wanted. I flipped my game right side up before I headed out to the beaches of Seaside Kingdom. I definitely wanted to avoid the boss fight, so I just grabbed a bunch of random moons. And after doing some hard platforming, I was able to get my last moon and complete Seaside Kingdom. The reason I didn't cover too much in this kingdom is because literally nothing eventful happened. There wasn't any challenging moon that I got, and I didn't have to reset at all. Going into Luncheon Kingdom, I got a not so fun challenge, that being I can't collect any coins. Getting my first moon, I was especially careful not to bonk, but I was able to do it no problem. Then I made my way to the second moon, where I also had to be extremely careful not to collect any coins. I quickly grabbed my third moon, before grabbing my fourth and making my way to the boss fight, which I was able to do pretty easily. I got both the first and second golden turnip moons, as well as any moons that were in that vicinity. I also got both of the moons that are in this sub-area. Throughout the rest of the kingdom, I was extremely careful, especially not to collect coins. And after a lot of cautious gameplay, I was able to get my last moon without breaking any of the rules that I had set. For Ruined Kingdom, or Bowser's Kingdom, my punishment was that I had to zoom in the game even more. One thing that I noticed is that in black and white, Ruined Kingdom looks almost even cooler. Too bad it took me a lot of attempts. It took me about a dozen resets before I was finally able to get a run where I didn't take damage. And when I did, all it meant was it was time for me to spin the wheel again. And I actually got good luck, as I got Kingdom with no punishments. And this kingdom is pretty good to have it for. I could finally actually enjoy myself. I went and collected some coins, took damage, and it didn't matter. The thing I was the most grateful for though was to see the game in color again, and what a beautiful kingdom to get that. For this kingdom, I really took my time, collecting as many coins and moons as I felt like. I did take damage while fighting Topper, but this time it didn't matter. I made my way up towards the mech showdown, where I took it out pretty easily, but it was very fun to do knowing I could take as much damage as I wanted. This meant it was time to spin the wheel one last time, and this punishment didn't really affect me, as I couldn't take damage in the first place. And just because my game is super zoomed in and in black and white, didn't mean I wasn't gonna do Sphinx Skip. My nerves were super high going into this Bowser fight, which caused me to have to reset a couple times. But every time I worked my way back and stayed determined. Just like that, I was at the very end. All I had to do was not choke at this last section and I would be done with the challenge. I slashed through walls that were in my way, carefully maneuvered around falling platforms, and dodged falling rocks. Not quite all of them, I had to reset again, but I made my way back. And this time, things were different. I actually was able to dodge all the falling rocks, and made my way effortlessly through the 2D platforming section. Now, I'm on the final stretch. I just have to knock down these pillars without taking damage, and I win the challenge. I make my way to the first pillar, barely dodging falling rocks, but I knock it down. Same for the second. I get there, only barely jumping over some falling rocks. I get to the third one no problem, and I get to the fourth with only a little bit of struggle, as there are a lot of falling platforms now. I knock down the fourth and watch as all the other platforms around me start to crumble. I just have to make it to the middle and destroy the cube without getting hit, and this challenge is over. And just like that, I beat Super Mario Odyssey, but after every kingdom, it gets harder. I'm super happy that I was able to play Super Mario Odyssey one more time before the Switch 2 comes out, which is the day that I'm uploading this. I really hope we get a new 3D Mario sometime soon, as replaying this has made me remember just how good 3D Mario games are. I'm gonna miss this game when the Switch 2 comes out, but I'll definitely make sure to go and play it a couple times after the Switch 2's release. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. This video was really fun to make, and I'm sorry about the long time between this video and my last. I'm gonna try to be way more consistent in the future, and I'll definitely have some videos now that the Switch 2 is out.